So we finally got the numbers in on the GDP for the second quarter. As Thursdays have kind of become to um, turn into the just depressing day of economy, this Thursday specifically was even worse, as we learned that on an annualized basis, our GDP is down 35%. That's god awful. That is horrible. Uh, if you do compare it to the rest of 2020, the second quarter is down about 10%, which is still pretty bad. Really, it's comparable to a country that has been invaded. Countries that get invaded, their GDPs drop about 10 to 15%. So that should tell you something. This 35% is the worst that we have ever had in the history of this country. So do not mistake how dire this really is. This is massive. And this is something we've been talking about for a long time on this show, for at least a month, not two. That our economy is way worse than it looks. These numbers that we're not focusing on, we're focusing on the other numbers, the COVID numbers, we're not focusing on the economy numbers, and they're really bad and really scary. Um, this kind of brought it to light. And if that didn't, then the new jobless claims also did their fair share bit, as we had 1.45 million Americans claim that they do not have a job anymore. And that's new, by the way. 1.45 new million from last week's 1.56 million, and prior to that, 1.3 million. It just keeps going up, and the numbers just keep getting worse. One of the also just sad statistics from the jobless claims is the fact that we are seeing a lot of them who have not picked up a job since, let's see, mid March, early April. That means most of these jobs are permanently gone. Not all of them, but a good chunk of them. If you, the people who have claimed unemployment from early April and are still on unemployment, most of them, they have lost their jobs for good. And if it couldn't get any worse, we also found out that if we do nothing and we stay on the same track that we're on right now, by next week, about 54.3 million Americans will be without food or food insecure. Which means, yeah, you have a little bit, but not enough to satisfy you, not enough to keep you fed. Right now, about 30 million Americans are food insecure. 30 million Americans in the world's richest country are food insecure. So everything's looked really, really bad in our economy. Everything is incredibly scary for the average American. And I think what makes it even worse is we don't see anyone doing anything. The Democrats have barely floated anything. The Republicans have been. Uh, I don't know what the Republicans have been in. We do have what their plan is. And Mitch McConnell and people like Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz have all talked of different ways to recover the economy. And the very first one is the liability shield. It's the one they all want. Now, the liability shield, they definitely think needs to be in this new stimulus package. What it does, essentially, is provides a uniform protection for companies from being sued for COVID, from workers and customers alike. You go into their store, you work for their store or their manufacturing plant, wherever, you can't sue them if you get COVID, is essentially what this is all about. This was the very first thing that the Republicans really pushed on, and the only thing they've all agreed they want to do. Um, Secondly, which I'm hesitant to put this in because it actually hasn't been addressed by the Senate Republicans, but I will give them credit of saying that they did in fact uh, put a $1,200 check in. They did do that. But again, they never actually said it. It was kind of implied. But we did also hear their unemployment insurance, and that was a good cut to the current unemployment insurance, which is a $600 bonus up. And they wanted to cut it to a $200 bonus up, and that is per week, which is damning because we just saw the numbers currently. That 35% drop in GDP. What was it? 32% of renters who haven't paid insurance. All of this is with that $600 bonus, with the $1,200 one-time stimulus check. It's all of that. And we're still not doing well at all. If that's not bad enough, that the Republicans in the Senate come up with such a feckless plan, Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, and many of the cast of favorites in the Senate say they won't sign for it. And most Republicans they know will not sign for it. They don't believe there should be any more spending. The only thing that they promote is a recovery plan, capital gains tax cut, payroll tax cut, things like that. Nothing in the form of a stimulus to the average American. And if you're thinking, oh, that's why I hate Republicans, you're not wrong, but you're also not right to like the other side either, because this is what the Democrats have floated. And Kamala Harris, Presley, and Delora, I believe. I know Ayanna Presley was definitely on it, and so was Kamala Harris. I can't remember the other one. But they have a way to deal with the eviction crisis, because that is going to be a major problem. In about a week, we're going to, well, actually not even a week, about 3 or 4 days, we're going to hear about a lot of Americans being kicked out of their homes. And here is what Kamala Harris, potential VP, and Ayanna Presley, a leftist progressive, this is their idea. They want to sign a bill in that calls for $10 billion to give people some funding for a lawyer. If you're losing their house, they want to give you a lawyer. That's what they're going to do. I mean, I think anything besides you won't get kicked out of your house during a pandemic is the proper answer. Giving you a lawyer shows just how tone deaf these people really are. They think that's what we need. A lawyer. Really? This is from the left, by the way. This is, the spend freely Democrats. The progressive bleeding heart. They're offering you some money for a damn lawyer. Instead of saying, hey, you know what? We're not going to let anyone be kicked out during a pandemic. People lost jobs of no fault of their own. And we're going to protect them. No, we're gonna get a bunch of money together, put it in a pot, and you can take from it to get a lawyer. So, by the way, so it doesn't go against your record when you get evicted. Yeah, that lawyer isn't going to fight to keep you in the house. That's the best part. If you read the article on Politico, is the lawyer was just so your record doesn't look bad. Not to keep you in that house. No, they still want you out. And all of that looked incredibly stark until about 5 hours ago, when Donald Trump did his press briefing and turned everything up on its ear.
Congress to pass additional legislation to support Americans in need. First, we want a temporary extension of expanded unemployment benefits. This will provide a critical bridge for Americans who lost their jobs to the pandemic through no fault of their own. This was not anybody's fault from the standpoint of jobs. It happened. Terrible thing happened. Could have been stopped. It happened. I want to thank Senate Republicans for fighting to extend unemployment benefits today in the face of very strong Democrat obstruction, which I'm surprised at, because this is great for our country and it's great for our workers, and it wasn't our workers' fault. Second, we're asking Democrats to work with us to find a solution that will temporarily stop evictions. We do not want people who have lost their jobs due to the virus to be evicted from their homes or apartments. We don't want that to happen. Third, we need Democrats to join us to pass additional economic relief payments for American citizens, like the payment sent directly to 160 million Americans earlier this year, which was a tremendously successful program. This money will help millions of hardworking families get by. My administration is also asking Democrats to work with us to pass $105 billion to help schools safely reopen. Children are not at the lowest risk. If you look at what's going on, the younger, the better. Amazing, the immune system. But children, the lower they are in age, the lower the risk in terms of the age group itself. I tell the story that in New Jersey, with thousands and thousands of people dying, sadly dying, the governor was telling me that only one, Phil Murphy, only one died under the age of 18. That's incredible. With thousands of people that died in the state of New Jersey, one made an impact. One died under the age of 18. Children are at the lowest risk of any age group from the virus. Indefinite school closures will inflict lasting harm to our nation's children. We must follow the science and get students safely back to school while protecting children, teachers, staff, and family. We have to remember that there's another side to this. Keep it.
Now look, I'm not against what Trump is doing. He's basically extending what we need to do. In an argument that I thought they would handle themselves in the Senate, here's my concern. And, hear me out. I hope I'm wrong. But Donald Trump really wanted a payroll tax cut. That was part of the thing that he wanted in the stimulus package. The Senate told him no. And he was like, okay, and walked away. Now, there is reports that the economic numbers, the harm and the damage that is doing to the average American is finally starting to reach the White House. And now they see why it's important to spend the money. And maybe that's the case. Or strategically, he's saying, look, we're not doing great. We're not doing well in the polls. We're not doing well. I'm not going to lose because the Republicans refuse to spend money during a pandemic. Either way, I don't care. I don't care what his motive is. Does he truly want to help people? Is this whatever it is? I don't care. My concern is that he won't be able to get it passed. I don't know. I don't really know, because everything in the Beltway is theatrics. It's like WWE for elderly people. And I wouldn't be surprised if this entire time they've all been talking, yeah, we're going to pass this, this, and this. We're going to extend all of these things. We're going to go in for another 3 months. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to hold off, and we're going to make it look like we're not going to pass any of that. And then, Trump's going to come out, or maybe this is Trump's plan. I'm going to come out a day before a deadline, and I'm going to say we're doing it all. And then the next day you guys are going to sign it in, and I look like a hero. I don't know, and I don't care, to be honest. I just hope it actually gets extended. I was hoping that by this point, we would be talking about adding things, that we would be talking about changing up the formula, not just extending what's currently being done, because it's not perfect right now. I think my listeners know any more than anyone, because half of the time and during this show, all I do is talk about all of the big corporations, Wall Street, that are just pumped up by federal money, pumped up by our tax money. But I'll take it right now. And I hate to cave like that, but I don't want to see people starving. I don't want to see people homeless. I don't want to see people who did nothing wrong about to be in financial ruin, complete ruin. It's the worst outcome I can think of, and so I hope they extend it. I really do. I think this is probably the last one, and I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. Tomorrow, I'm going to be glued to my TV or whatever, just waiting to see what is actually announced, what isn't. Hopefully Trump pulls out his big Trump dick and gets his way.